Visionary.
Create.
Digital.
Hello.
She says.
Listen.
My name's Muireann Carey-Campbell. I am better known on the Tinterweb as Bangs in a Bun, or just Bangs, as people call me. I'm a blogger, and I recently, this year, launched a new site, a fitness site for women called Spikes and Heels. So my talk today is going to be a little bit about athletics and aesthetics. So I thought to kick us off, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my own journey into fitness. I was a dancer growing up, very active up until the age of about 22. I moved to New York and a few other countries and essentially did nothing fitness-wise. Moved back to the UK at the age of 29, very unfit, quite overweight, and you know, would get winded going up a flight of stairs. It's not where you want to be when you're 29. So I figured I should do something about it. So I started boxing, which I absolutely loved, and tweeted about my love for boxing quite often. I have quite a large following on Twitter, and a very eagle-eyed PR person picked up on my love of boxing and mistakenly thought I was very fit and asked me if I would like to run a half marathon and blog about it. I very stupidly accepted this challenge, despite the fact that I actually could not even run for a bus at the time. So my very first run was a 5k park run in Leeds, where I discovered that I could not actually run for 30 seconds, which was quite embarrassing. So I completed the run that day through a combination of running, walking, crawling and crying, and went home that day and had a slight panic attack about the fact that I had to run a half marathon in a couple of months. So, but you know, not to be deterred, I went back to that same park run the next week, and I stood at the start line and I said to myself, I will not stop. So no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much pain I'm in, no matter how much I want to walk, I am not going to stop running until I cross the finish line. And that's exactly what I did. Carried on running, took me a long time, but I got there, crossed the finish line of my first 5k park run on a Saturday. And that moment, not to be hyperbolic, but I credit that day as being the day that changed my life. I had a bit of a light bulb moment, which was, what if I've approached other areas of my life in that same way? So what if I have stopped and walked where I could have actually pushed through and kept on running? So I resolved that day, that's how I'm going to approach everything in my life. I'm going to approach everything in my life the way I'm going to train for this half marathon, which is essentially with a high degree of badassery. So that's where my half marathon training started in earnest, and I started blogging about it. Mainly, I'll be honest, about how much I hated it, because running, especially in those early days when you first start, it sucks. It's painful, it's horrible, you don't enjoy it, but as I got into it, as I started running more, my confidence grew, and I started to discover these wonderful things about myself. You know, my body felt so much more powerful, and everything about my life was changing. On the 10th of October 2010, I completed my first half marathon, which that's me just collapsing at the finish line, which was the Royal Parks Half Marathon here in London. Did it in a time of 2 hours 30 minutes. I was recovering from laryngitis at the time. I had one functioning nostril. Took me a while, but I got there. So obviously, while I was doing all of this training throughout this, I kept saying, I don't think I'm going to do another half marathon after I've done this one. I'm just going to stick to 5Ks, 10Ks, maybe that's my distance. So what did I do as soon as I crossed the line? Obviously, I signed up for another half marathon. So this time I signed up for the Paris half, and I thought, since I trained for this one by myself, it might be quite nice to have some other people along with me. So I tweeted out, would anybody like to come and run a half marathon with me in Paris? That's quite a big ask, so I didn't really expect much of a response, but within 24 hours, 20 women had signed up and were all looking at me saying, so what next? So, kind of, you know, happy accident, I became the leader of this crew, who were now called Team Bangs on the Run. So, Team Bangs on the Run. The first Team Bangs on the Run were 20 women. Here's myself with some of them in Paris. We ran the Paris Half Marathon. A requirement of people being on the team was that you must tweet and blog about your training relentlessly. And if you were following us, any of us, on Twitter last year, you would not have been able to miss it. So we ran this, and lots of great feedback from people throughout the process. I kept getting tweets and emails from people about, this is so inspiring, love what you're doing. When you do the next Team Bangs on the Run, well, the next Team Bangs on the Run had not actually even occurred to me as a thing, but people kept asking, so obviously I made Team Bangs on the Run 2. So Team Bangs on the Run 2 was made up of 13 women, here's me with some of them here, and we ran the Run to the Beat, Nike Run to the Beat half marathon last October 2011. And again, a requirement of being on the team was that you tweet and blog about your training, because I wanted people to see a very honest account of what it takes to go in and do a half marathon. What is the training actually like? I wanted to see people to see the process. Again, tweets, emails from people. This is so inspiring. Love what you're doing. This is so great. When you do the next Team Bangs on the Run, again, that had not occurred to me, but I've got more and more emails, and so Team Bangs on the Run 3 was born. This time I did it with 8 women. We did the Berlin half marathon in April of this year. So that's a brief history of my fitness life. So at this point, by April of this year, I've been running about a year and a half. Today, at this point, I think I've done about 8, 9 half marathons and a full marathon. Running's obviously a massive part of my life. I'm still a keen boxer. I do MMA circuits, I do Pilates a lot, and I keep finding new and interesting ways to stay active and try and encourage as many other women as possible to do so. So I kind of stumbled across quite an interesting thing along this journey, which was, I'm kind of developing and have become this woman that, I've changed my life, obviously, from a few years ago. And I've become this woman who has embraced fitness wholeheartedly. I mean, when I do something, I really go all out. So I've doubled down on the fitness thing, and I'm all the way in. I've got a website to do with it and everything. I did find, though, that the media that is aimed supposedly at women like me is a little bit off. So if I'm to read women's fitness magazines, the message that I get is that really I should just be doing Zumba and lifting 1 kilogram weights. No offence to anybody who does Zumba and lifts 1 kilogram weights, just so you know. But I'm of the opinion that we are capable of a little bit more. Okay, so, on the one hand we've got women's magazines telling us that. On the other hand, I'm running half marathons and marathons. A good friend of mine is training for a 50-miler. I know fantastic female boxers, Muay Thai fighters, rally car racers, BMXers, you name it. I know women who are pushing the limits of what it means to be feminine and fit. And these media outlets don't seem to kind of correlate with these women and who they are. So that seemed like quite a natural progression for me to fill that gap. So Spikes and Heels was born. Spikes and Heels is my website, which is basically a fitness website for badass women. The motto of this website is "Be pretty on rest days." So it's all about pushing yourself to be the best you can be, going all out, do not give a crap what you look like while you're doing it, dress like this on your off day, okay? Had a massive response to this. So many women, when I launched it, were like, oh my god, this really appeals to who I am, and finally we had a place to go. It celebrates who we are as women. Strong is the new sexy. So this is another message that we get, which we kind of feel like we've made a bit of progress, because strong is the new sexy, and when you first hear it, that's really like, yeah, strong is the new sexy, awesome. But then the more you say it, the more uncomfortable I start to get with it, because all of a sudden we've brought it right back around again to looks. So I've done quite a bit of informal research on this, and when I ask women, why don't you work out, why don't you exercise, what is it? The same answer comes back time and time again, which is, I don't want people to see me. I don't want people to see me in my lycra, my hair gets a bit messy, I look a bit sweaty, my face gets a bit red. Don't want people to see me. All to do with aesthetics. So we've kind of shifted now where strong's the new sexy, yeah. This is especially popular on blogging sites such as Tumblr, where you'll see images such as this, and this is probably the most tame one I could find, to be honest. Images are always of very scantily clad girls, and not to take anything away from this lovely young lady, she's obviously very in shape, obviously does her thing. So not taking away from the hard work she's put in to get like that. But these images are always, very scantily clad, and, not to take away from her workout, but I'm just saying, my hair doesn't look like that when I work out. I'm not wearing false lashes and a full face of makeup. And they kind of always look like they've just been sprayed with, like, a water bottle to glisten a little bit, It's kind of it's not really a very real representation of what it looks like to work out. So we've come right back around to this thing. Strong is the new sexy. Why can't strong just be strong? Why does it have to link back in to the male gaze? And why does it have to be this kind of index of attractiveness, which essentially just leads into, men ranking us in terms of attractiveness, which makes me very uncomfortable. So I decided to flip this whole thing on its head. I'm currently training for the Amsterdam Half Marathon, which is next month. So I've been training since about July. And I always document my training quite specifically. This time around I decided to very deliberately take a picture every time I train. So after every training session there's a picture of me looking sweaty or red-faced or doing, you know, one of the exercises I was doing during my session. And I post those up on my Instagram. And it was actually during the first week of the Olympics, I had gotten up, I was doing quite a strict training regime at the moment. I got up at 6 AM on Saturday morning, went out and did my Kenyan hill interval session. Any runners in the crowd will know that's tough. Came home and literally my legs were like jelly. I couldn't even stand up to take the picture. Had to lie down on my deck outside, take a sweaty picture of myself, posted it on Instagram, and within minutes I had a comment from a woman, just want to reinforce that, a woman who I don't know, who doesn't follow me, and her comment simply said, "Sweet Jesus, you're hideous." It's not the insult that bothers me, but it's the meaning behind it, it's the deeper levels. Me looking sweaty, having put all that effort into a workout, to this woman who I don't know, makes me hideous. Now, I've got quite a lot of followers on Twitter. I've been blogging for 5 years. I've got 2 sites now. I'm not unaware of the influence I have online. I get emails from 15-year-old girls telling me how much my journey's inspired them, how much they want to go out and run now. So when that 15-year-old girl sees that Instagram posting and sees some woman has commented on it saying that I'm hideous, what does that say to that 15-year-old girl? If Bangs gets those comments, maybe I shouldn't go out and work out, maybe I can't let people see me like that. That's who I care about, not that woman who left the comment, to be honest. So I decided to turn that round. These are the kind of images I take of myself, sweaty, red-faced, what have you. I decided to turn that around, and that day I wrote a blog post called "Who You Calling Hideous?" This blog post went, and it was during the Olympics, so everybody was paying attention to sports, so it was quite timely. This blog post went around, got quite a lot of attention, and an interesting thing started to happen on the day that it went live, which was that women were reading it, and women started tweeting me pictures of themselves, post-workout pictures, with the hashtag hideous. And it was really quite moving that these women not only were standing by me and supporting me, but understood what I was trying to do, not just with my training pictures or with the Spikes and Heels site, but what I'm trying to do for women in general, in terms of getting us to look at training and health and fitness differently. So I've now turned this into Operation Hideous. If you go on spikesandheels.com today, you'll see, I think it's actually the first post today, Operation Hideous is a gallery of pictures on the Spikes and Heels site. Women can send me in their pictures of themselves with their name, Twitter name, and the workout they just completed. I encourage the women to take the picture right when they finish their workout, when they're still struggling to catch their breath. Take the picture then. No Photoshop, no nothing. You don't have to be scantily clad like a Tumblr photo. I want it to be real. I want it to be a real representation of what goes into training and exactly how hard we work to get to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. Be Pretty on rest days is what it's all about. My whole ethos with Spikes and Heels is basically just about people embracing their inner badass, basically, and going out there and giving it all you've got. I want young girls and young women to have role models who they can look up to and aspire to be like, and someone who can bridge that gap between your couch and Paula Radcliffe. We need more people in between. So these young women need, inspirational role models like you and I say, let's lead the way. So my name's Muireann Carey-Campbell. That was my presentation. These are the various ways you can contact me. Thank you.